What's up, fellas? Back again for a little 2020. I'm making a habit of this, and that's a problem. I gotta win one, and I feel like I am at some point this year. How do you like our backdrop? We just got a brand new green screen here in the office, and we're testing it out. Doesn't this look amazing? So we just put the green screen up. We actually imported in these mountains and all this lake background just to make you guys think that I'm all over the planet, you know? Pretty cool, huh? Seamless. Nah, just kidding. We're here at Cherokee Lake. And we're going to talk about Grand Lake, though, because this lake right here is going to treat me much better than Grand did. You know, we're here in Tennessee. This is our lake house that we're staying at this week. Pretty sweet view, I have to admit. Probably the nicest lake house so far that we've rented here on tour. So, but Grand Lake, that's what we're here to talk about. Man, that was a painful one. You know, I really don't even know where to start, to be honest with you. But before we get too deep into it, I do want to do a couple little housekeeping little issues. Number one, Marshall program. It's going strong. Everybody's loving it. Matter of fact, John Cox's Marshall a couple tournaments ago ended up winning first place. $100, guys. You can jump in the boat with myself, John, Latimer, all of the guys on the FLW tour. They'll match you up, and you get to hang out with us and help do social media, help do film work. It's a really, really cool opportunity, and FLW has a few slots left, not many, a few slots left for Cherokee right outside of Knoxville. So if you know anybody around the Knoxville area that would like to come hang out with us, it's beautiful. I've got shorts on. It's going to be a great week. There's going to be a lot of fish caught. Come hang out. Go call FLW Monday morning. Figure out how to get on the Marshall program. It is a really, really cool system. The other thing is P-Line. P-Line is running an unbelievable special right now through the month of April. Buy one, get one free. That's right. Buy one, get one free of the P-Line Tactical. I actually got a phone call yesterday. A lot of the Bass Pro Shops are selling out. They've got more coming. So if you go to Bass Pro Shops or Cabela's and you see the pegs empty, there's more on the way as we speak. But that deal, that buy one, get one free, available at Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's and other retail partners around. We'll drop a link down below in the description. You can check on that and see what other stores are doing the buy one, get one free, but not a better deal out there anywhere. Tactical is what I use. It's great fluorocarbon, and P-Line's got this deal going on. You know, just an amazing deal. So check it out, stock up. You can really make a big difference with that tactical. I just love it, just love it. So Grand Lake, you know, it was a tough event for me. Obviously, I finished, I think, 85th or 86th, didn't get a check. I did get a few points, which is good. It could have been worse. But, you know, I'm fond of Oklahoma. I was actually born not too far from Grand Lake in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Lived in Tulsa when I was a kid. We moved to Florida, but still have some family out in Oklahoma. So Oklahoma is dear to my heart. And when I kind of got to that lake, I had expectations of doing a lot better. We just had some really crazy weather. The lake came up, then it was dropping. Water temperatures are really, really low. The local tournaments in the area all that week before and while we were there were just barely catching any fish. It was one of those tournaments for me that it was hard to dial in on a pattern. I'm a pattern fisherman. I like to kind of get a rhythm going on what I'm looking for, how I'm catching fish, and I just had a hard time. In practice, I just didn't catch a lot of fish. I mean, I didn't catch a lot of shorts, and I didn't catch a lot of keepers. Matter of fact, I only caught 4 keepers the whole tournament in practice, and 6 keepers throughout the tournament. So I caught 10 bass the whole week I was there, which is embarrassing. I apologize. But again, for me, it was one of those deals where water temperatures were cold. I couldn't get on a rhythm. I'd run down the lake, and I just couldn't get enough bites doing any particular thing to say to myself, that's what I'm looking for. I'm usually pretty good at, once I identify a pattern or a secondary pattern, I can run with it, you know, looking for the right kind of rock, looking for the right kind of points. But again, for me, it was just tough. And you know, talking to people throughout practice, it was one of those, only time in history that I can remember where people were literally coming up to me in practice several times. My phone was ringing off the hook. People were just like, dude, have you caught a keeper yet? Because it was like there was no bass in that lake. The shad, they had a shad die off about a week before that, or 2 weeks before that actually, and those fish were, I think a lot of them were suspended out in the lake, just eating the dying shad, and they were full, they didn't want to eat. Water was it was up high, and then it was starting to drop, so there's just a lot of things going against us. And but you know what? It was a learning experience for me, because here's what I did learn. I like to find a pattern. But I can't always find a pattern. I'm not always going to find a pattern on every single lake, even though there is one. I just didn't find it. I should have, instead of trying to find the pattern throughout the tournament, I should have just picked an area or a creek, like a big creek, and said to myself, I'm not going to leave this creek until I catch 5 fish. Because in a big creek, you've got everything you need. You've got every kind of rock pattern, gravel banks, channel swings, you have docks, you have everything you need in a big creek. And I should have just picked a creek out mid-lake and just said, I'm not leaving here until I catch 5. And if I'd have done that, I think I would have done a lot better, because I was just running around all over the place. I kept fishing areas that were kind of those what I'd call two flat banks. With the water dropping and you're fishing flat banks, those fish aren't coming to that stuff. They're gonna set up more on those 45-degree angle banks. And I was on a section of the lake that didn't have a whole lot of 45-degree angle banks. I was on the flat stuff. The flat stuff's great when the water's stable or rising, but it was falling. And I just, not really being from there and not fishing that lake before much, I really wasn't sure that how much 6 inches would affect those flatter banks, and it really just sucked the fish right out of there, and it just really wasn't good. So for me, I just wasted pretty much my entire practice trying to make something happen that just was going away, when I should have just, again, got on some 45-degree angle banks, picked out a big creek on the main lake, and just stayed in there and just made it happen. And I probably would have learned something over the first 2 days that could have propelled me into the top 30, then could have propelled me into the top 10 by doing it that way. I did it at Cumberland a couple years ago. After I won the tournament, we went back to Cumberland, and I had a tough practice. And I said to myself, there's a creek down here. I feel like I can catch 5 fish in, and I'm not leaving until I do. And that's what I did. And I did that 2 days, and then on day 3, I made the cut, moved out to the lake, and then I finished out the tournament. Did real well. Didn't win, but I called that surviving. And this one here, again, I just kind of got stuck doing the wrong things in the wrong area of the lake. Now, let me talk about some of the patterns. Some of the guys you heard were catching them on spinnerbaits, and they were catching them on big spinnerbaits like this. This is a half-ounce white, got a chartreuse skirt on the chartreuse trailer on the back of it. Has Colorado blades, and the Colorado blades have a lot more vibration. It goes slower through the water column, so it stays in that strike zone longer. So anytime you're fishing muddy water, or very stained water, or very cold water where those fish aren't that active, Colorado blades or Indiana blades are great versus like a willow leaf blade, like right here. Now this spinnerbait right here would have worked great in other areas of the lake, especially on day 3s and 4, as those fish got more apt to being up shallow. But for me, I just didn't get it done, guys. I'm here at Cherokee. I've got to make something happen. I like a lake like this, even though I've never fished Cherokee. It has smallmouth bass in it. It also has largemouth. So I'm looking forward to figuring it out this week. Another thing that I threw, and I caught several fish on it in practice and some in the tournament, was crankbaits. And a chartreuse one like this. This is a little live target Tennessee craw. David Walker designed this one. It's a great little shallow running crankbait. Chartreuse was key. A lot of times you think about throwing red when you're dealing with muddy water, especially cooler water. A lot of guys throw red, but for some reason they had gotten off that red. I think it was a little far past, that water temperature had got up 53, 54, 55. And once it gets up in those mid-50s, a lot of times that red kind of goes away and chartreuse will become a big player. And I was throwing that right there. That's basically how I caught the few fish that I did on spinnerbaits and on crankbaits. But, again, guys, for me, I just fished the wrong area of the lake. Lesson learned, in the back of my mind, I'm gonna be honest with you, in the back of my mind, several times I kept thinking throughout the tournament that I just need to take off and run down the lake. And just go get in one of those creeks. And I was almost overconfident. I was so confident in my ability to make something happen. And a lot of times that works for me, but when you're fishing the wrong type of banks and you're fishing the wrong end of the lake, that makes it that much more difficult. So for me, it was tough. Brian Latimer did good. He only caught a few fish in practice, but ended up doing really well in the tournament. John Cox, same thing. He caught a couple fish in practice, and he found an area. He never left. He went around and around in circles in the back of a creek and just let the fish come to him all week long, and he'd catch 5 fish pretty much every day, going around and around in circles in that little backwater area. Jerry Lawyer, He did great throwing a spinnerbait behind the docks. And looking at the footage from him, it looked like he was targeting those little bit steeper banks, a little bit more chunk rock, places that those fish will get when that water's dropping like that. He was fishing behind the docks as well, behind those cables. And Brian Thrift did good. So, you know, Brian had a tough tournament. The previous tournament at Seminole, he made up for it big time at Grand. I fell back a little bit. I think I'm sitting in 8th or 9th for points right now, but that's still a very doable position to pull off an Angler of the Year. 3 tournaments left. I can do it. You know, I'm going to have some good finishes. I'm going to have to come out of here with a top 30, and I'm going to have to finish out the year doing really, really well. So I just wanted to bring that 2020 to you guys, let you know what's up. We've got some great videos coming this week. We've got a great house here. We've got the whole crew back in. Latimer, John Cox, Andrew, Tom, and I. Billy's back, and we're going to have a lot of fun this week. So if you guys are in the area, be sure to come down to the weigh-in at the dam on Lake Cherokee right here in Jefferson City. Check it out, guys. So thanks for hanging out with me. I know that was a short 2020, but I've got some tackle to rig, and I got to figure out how to win this tournament. So thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for subscribing. We'll see you soon.